Did you know that a president of the United States once refused to ride Dumbo the Flying Elephant?
I didn't know that. And let's talk about giant ducks.
What?
Giant ducks. All right, I'm Timmy. This is my lovely wife, Rachel. And this is Timmy Watt Presents. All right, so today we're going to talk about 3 rides. And we're going to wrap up Fantasyland and be done with it forever. No, never done. Never. So we're going to talk about Dumbo. We're going to talk about the Storybook Canal Boats. And we're going to talk about Storybook Land, We're going to talk about Dumbo the Elephant. We're going to talk about the Storybook Land, Canal Boats. And we're going to talk about Casey Jr.'s train ride. So let's get started right now with Dumbo.
Okay. So I'm going to start out with a little personal story about Dumbo. When I was little, I remember riding Dumbo, and this is probably before the big 1983 refurb of Dumbo, because they did a lot in that 1983. Did they just close the whole?
I think they pretty much closed all of Fantasyland.
Yeah, crazy.
For that year.
Yeah,
basically.
yeah. But there used to be water underneath, in the center, underneath all of Dumbo, and Dumbo like flew all the way around, but with water underneath. And my little brother was riding it, and his shoe fell off in the middle of riding it. And
this is your brother that got his ear stepped on?
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay, go on.
Yeah. And that was it. I mean, they don't stop the ride for you, and so my parents had to go buy him a new pair of shoes.
Yeah.
Because he didn't have any shoes.
I'm sure it was a happy memory.
Oh, yes.
It's pretty funny.
So.
And Disney, to be honest, is pretty ruthless about lost items on rides. Yeah. Like, they won't stop the ride.
Yeah.
So,
well, can you imagine them holding up thousands, millions of people for one person?
Right. Plus, a lot of the rides that are computer controlled are timed.
Yeah, they can't.
And they can't. Like, it jacks the whole thing up. And so, you lose your $1,200, $1,300 iPhone, and it's gone. Like, done.
Sorry, Charlie.
Right?
Yeah.
So, cool story.
Anyway. Okay. Dumbo the Flying Elephant. I do like Dumbo.
Let's do it.
It opened with the park July 17th, 1955. It is an aerial carousel type ride, and it operates in all of the Disney parks. That's kind of cool.
It is worldwide.
Yeah. It's cool that you can go to any of the parks and ride it, and it feels like home. It was originally going to be one Dumbo elephant, and the rest were going to be kind of that fatty pink in the tutu elephant from his drunken hallucination. Yeah. But Walt decided he didn't like that idea, and so he ordered them all to be painted gray. Yeah. So
probably safe bet.
Yeah.
We don't want to encourage drunkenness
and hallucinations. And the organ, located under the circus tent behind Dumbo the Flying Elephant, was built by Gavioli and was built by Gavioli and C in 1915. So that's really cool. Like, we've talked about a few different pieces of Fantasyland that are super, super old. That's another one. So we talked about one in King Arthur's Carousel that was brought in from the World's Fair.
From 1912?
Yeah, and then now this one. So that's really cool.
That's some really long-lasting stuff. Mm-hmm. Like, that's antique. Yeah. I mean, if nothing else, that's amazing.
Over 100 years old.
And I don't know that I remember looking at the organ. It's kind of behind the ride. Mm-hmm. And apparently, from the notes I read, it's very powerful. And so if they actually use it, it says it can be heard for a mile.
Oh, wow.
So it's pretty rare that they actually do use it.
Oh. Yeah,
but listen for that, because I think it would be fairly obvious
if they're using
if it did get used.
Okay. So, back to our introduction. In 1957, President Truman declined the offer to ride Dumbo due to the elephant being a symbol of the Republican Party. Boom.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that's silly.
Oh, well. Can't say I blame him, but, you know.
I don't know. I think that if I were the president and if I were invited to Disneyland by Walt himself, I'd probably be pretty okay with.
Yeah, I'm just kidding. Do you think he really, in the end, didn't write it?
I think so.
Oh my gosh. That's crazy.
The notes I read said he politely declined.
there was another reason behind it. I wonder if he was
Are you
like,
scared?
yeah, like it goes too high. I don't like
He
the
had vertigo
circular
or
or something like that. Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know either.
So during the 1983 remodel, the whole ride was pushed over and replaced the Skull Island attraction. So I don't remember the Skull Island attraction.
I don't remember it either. I remember I've seen pictures,
Uh-huh.
and it's very haunting because it's a mountain, and it's very dark gray or black, and it's got the eyes and the nose and the mouth kind of carved out and pushed through into the mountain.
Kind of like
And I think
Jones?
I think you can walk through,
Oh, okay.
and I think you can tour that. And I know that it exists at Disneyland Paris still.
Okay. I'll have to go
So
there.
when we go, we'll check it out. But I remember seeing it and just being like, just the picture, because I haven't seen it in person, but I doubt it, because it was moved in 1983, so it was gone. But I just remember seeing pictures of it thinking, oh, that's scary looking. And it's a bummer that it's gone, but they had to move Dumbo out of the way, because I think Dumbo was in the pathway where you can get to Frontierland as a shortcut.
Oh, yeah. And there was the ranch and all that kind of stuff.
Yep.
Okay. So it was completely rebuilt with more of a toy maker kinetic design at that point.
Right. And one of the Imagineers that worked on that was so impressed with it. He said that it reminded him of an actual Geppetto carving or invention after they were done with that remodel. So it's pretty
that's
impressive.
cool.
Yeah.
It is very cool.
It's
So it was refurbished again in 1990 and expanded from 10 elephants to 16, which is good because it does need more. There are a lot of people
More
that ride
capacity.
it. Yeah, and then at Disney World, if you remember, there actually are
Two sets.
Yeah, I was going to say two rides, but yeah, two sets. So two sets of the 10 or the 16. Yeah. So 16 elephants here and 16 elephants here. So they could fit more riders on at once. Because if you think about it, there's those 16, and two people could fit on it, so maybe 32. And they ride it for the time, and nobody else can ride it for that amount of time until it's done.
Right.
And then they can't. So it makes the line go slower because it's not constantly moving. So Timothy Q. Mouse's whip at that time in 1990 was replaced with his magic feather. So
I think a feather's a lot more friendly.
yeah,
Kind.
and it's one of the favorite parts of the movie too, right? Is the magic feather. So one of the elephants was painted entirely gold for the 50th celebration, just like most of the attractions in Fantasyland had one of the items in it painted entirely gold for that celebration.
That's right.
And an elephant was donated to the Smithsonian in 2005. So that is really
That's
cool.
neat.
We need to go to the Smithsonian sometime because there's a lot
It
of
would be so fun.
there are a lot of really cool things donated to it, and a lot of really cool Disney things donated to it that we need to go to see. In 2018, the rides queue was expanded
Right.
and is now mostly covered, which is cool because I think the last time we went, when it was just the two of us, last year for Thanksgiving, I think it rained one day, and so that was nice that it was all undercover, and so they're protected. And of course, at Disney World, all of the queue lines are
They're all indoor.
indoor or undercover, so
Yeah.
makes it a lot more pleasant during the torrential rains in Disney World. So the ride length is about 1.5 minutes.
Yeah.
Any height, expectant mothers are okay to ride, and wheelchair, you would have to transfer out of the wheelchair and into the Dumbo elephant itself to ride it.
And typically you can fit 2 adults in each elephant,
Yeah,
or
we
an
were able
adult
to fit
and several children, like 12 children
I
probably.
would say 2 at the
Oh,
most.
okay.
2 little ones, yeah.
I mean, they're elephants, right?
Not that
So very similar to the Astro Orbiter in the
Yes.
fact you can control the height
Yes.
and spinning around, and it's basically
Yes.
the same kind of ride.
Yeah, and the purple one does not go higher or anything like that.
Right. Good point. All right, so let's keep moving. The next ride we want to talk about is the Storybook Land Canal Boats. And I'll just say right off the outset, it wasn't originally going to be called that. So let's get into that. All right, like pretty much every other ride at Fantasyland, it was opened originally with the park July 17th, 1955. The type of the ride is a boat ride, and about 12, maybe 14 people can fit in each boat. So the capacity is okay, but as we'll mention, the ride is about 6 minutes in length. And it's very leisurely. It just kind of goes with the flow. There's not, they have little motors in the boat. Yeah. They pretty much just
push on the track, right?
I think so. And basically the way the ride works is the narrator, the skipper, the captain, whatever you want to call him or her, walks you and talks you through the entire track, the entire boat ride map. And you see miniatures of different Disney movies and stories that are just fantastic and very well detailed. And that's, like I said, about a 6-minute ride, and then you're pretty much done. And so it's kind of a chill, laid-back ride, like a lot of the rides at Fantasyland are. But it's in the open air, so I assume if it gets pretty rainy or stormy, I'm sure they'll close it. But
you wouldn't want to ride it, really, if it was.
So this ride operates in Disneyland and Disneyland Paris. So be sure you check that out in both places. Now, as I mentioned, originally opened, and it was called the Canal Boats of the World. And it still had Walt's basic vision of a magical little park. Now, that comes from even before Disneyland. When he had his studios in Burbank, he wanted to open kind of like this little park next to or across the street. And he wanted to have like a miniature train ride and some other things just to kind of have something fun to do outside the office building, right? Mm-hmm. That, of course, grew and exploded and expanded into Disneyland as we know it today. But when they started building it into Disneyland, and when it opened, due to some limitations in ability to miniaturize things in a really good way, it was pretty limited to what they had. The technology wasn't there, but so at the very beginning, a lot of the ride wasn't done. They didn't have all the landscaping done, so there was still a lot of open dirt exposed on the banks of the path of the river, and it even started getting nicknames like the Mud Flow Ride or stuff like that. So after 2 months, the ride, they closed it, and they went to work on improving it and making sure it was fully landscaped and completed. And then about a year later, almost a year later, in June of 1956, it reopened. They added the giant Monstro the Whale drive-through or float-through, whatever you want to call it. You go through his mouth.
At the very, very beginning of the ride.
Very beginning of the ride. So that's kind of a fun attraction that they added to it. And then they started adding all the little scenes. And then through the years, they continued to add and replace and improve all the different little miniature scenes. And as we talked about at the very beginning of the video, as far as giant ducks are concerned, that's just kind of a silly joke that my son and I and probably others make, where a lot of the ducks, when they land, because it's in water, and so they have little islands and little sections off to the side where they have these miniatures, these lands, and so the ducks will just land on them and settle themselves down. And compared to the scale of these miniatures, they look huge. Like, so we always say, giant ducks! And it's just a funny little joke that Wyatt and I play, and all the little kids love that, and it's kind of fun. So that's a giant ducks reference. That's it.
Sure.
That's all. Okay. So when it reopened back in 1956, so almost a year later, they renamed it Storybook Land Canal Boats. And originally, it was just going to be called Canal Boats of the World, because, like I said, they didn't have the Disney aspect of it quite there yet. Okay. During a refurbishment in 1994, the Sultan's Castle from Aladdin was put in the place of what was Toad Hall at the time.
Okay.
And then about a year later, Toad Hall was put back, but in a different location. So we still have Toad Hall there. In 2005, as part of the 50-year anniversary, as we mentioned in several of the other rides, and just the last one too, the Tinkerbell boat was painted gold from stern to stem to celebrate Disneyland's 50th anniversary.
Because each of the boats are named.
Right.
And I would say there's probably 6 or so boats.
Yeah.
I don't know how many.
Absolutely.
But yeah,
so, in December of 2014, the old mill scene was replaced with Arendelle. The kingdom and the castle and the ice castle and all these other different elements from Frozen. And so now there's this whole section, this whole hillside that's all Arendelle. It's the ice castle, it's the land on the shore, and they did such a good job with it.
So gorgeous.
So if you're a Frozen fan, or even just a fan of Disney, or even a fan of miniatures, go check that out because
so pretty.
it is dynamite. It is really, really well done. So like most of the rides in Fantasyland, there's no height restrictions. Expecting mothers are okay. Wheelchairs just need to transfer. The cast members are fantastic and will help you in and out of the boat. Even if you're not differently abled or handicapped, they'll still help you in and out if you're a little unstable on your feet. Because it is a boat, it's just free floating, so they do their best to stabilize it, but it's still a boat in water.
Yeah.
As I mentioned, the ride duration's about 6 minutes, and it closes for fireworks like most of the rides, but because of its location right on the main roadway between the Matterhorn and Fantasyland, every parade goes by there. Yep. So it will close for every and any parade. They will clear out that queue, and you're done until that parade moves past that section, and then they'll start letting people back on.
Yeah, so if you want to, if you see that the line is long and you want to get there ahead and get in a good spot in line, time it with a parade and wait for the parade to move past there. Not for the parade to end, because by the time the parade has ended, it's way past. But by the time the parade passes by that section of Fantasyland, they will open that part of the line back up. They will open that ride back up. So wait for the parade to pass that line, and they'll open it back up, and then you can jump back in line. Another thing I will say, right there, just outside the Storybook Canal Boats, there is a lighthouse. It's kind of red and white.
Oh, right. It's big, right?
Yeah, it looks like a candy cane almost. Yeah, and it says Storybook Land. And it's a good picture spot. So a lot of people like to take a picture, like a selfie there, saying, I'm at Disneyland, or where am I? If you have pictures of yourself there, post them in the comments below, so we can see those. So we can see pictures of our followers there at Disneyland in the
and share your Disney experience with us. Yeah. We love that. Plus, we're on social, so we're on Twitter and Facebook and Instagram. So if you want to share with us there, all those links are in the description below. Just join us, follow us. We're happy to share that with you. We want you to share with us, so we're not just preaching to you. You guys are sharing your experiences with us. And if you like the video so far, please give us a thumbs up. We've got one more thing we're going to talk about really fast, and why it's really fast is because it's basically the same ride, it's just in a different vehicle. Mm-hmm. So let's talk about Casey Jr.'s Circus Train. Again, opening with the park, July 15th, 1955. The type is a train ride. It operates in Disneyland, of course, and Disneyland Paris. Disneyland Paris is more of a roller coaster ride. So it has the theming, it has the character, has the different cars that you ride in. But it's more of a roller coaster as opposed to an actual train, which this is a miniature train. Right. And Walt Disney loved trains, so this is just another avenue for him to kind of flex that, and that's awesome. Based, of course, on the character from the Dumbo movie. That's a 1941 Disney film, Dumbo, of course. You're taking through a tour of these miniaturized scenes we just talked about in Storybook Land Canal Boats, but without narration. And it's at a much faster pace because you're in a train, you're going up and down hills. You pretty much get to see everything as far as the scenery and the miniatures that you do in Storybook Land. You don't get to go through Monstro, right? But you get to see everything. And
you're up above. Right, it's like a level above. And you'll see the boats down below, and you can wave to them. Hopefully they'll wave back up to you.
We make that a rule. If you're in a ride or in a train, and you see other people in a ride or a train or eating their dinner at the Blue Bayou, you wave. Yes. That is the law. Yes. If you follow us, you follow the law. Wave to those people. Anyway, so
Now this ride is located, or the entrance to this ride is located on the other side of Dumbo. So Dumbo is kind of in between the Storybook land, Canal Boats, and Casey Jr. So just keep that in mind. We kind of went, if you think about it, we kind of went a little bit out of order here, but they're not right next to each other. So just keep that in mind.
Okay. So one fact that we mentioned back when we talked about the carousel, King Arthur carousel, the open air sleigh type cars that are on the train came from that carousel. And when it was being originally refurbished and improved for its debut when Disneyland opened. And so that's just another example of repurposing parts from other things that Disney Imagineering created or purchased for the park and was able to use it in other places really well. So just realize that when you sit down on Casey Jr., if you're sitting in one of those open air sleigh type cars, that was originally on the carousel back in the 1920s and 30s in New York City. Or it was Quebec, right? Toronto. Yeah. So when you're riding the ride...
Hang on a second. Wyatt, whatever you're doing, stop.
Okay, done.
What are you doing?
Opening the game.
Okay.
All right.
As you ride the train, as you ride the ride, and as Casey Jr., the train starts to go up the incline, you'll hear him puffing and chuffing when the exhaust, and you actually hear him saying, "I think I can, I think I can, I think I can." So that's kind of a fun little hark back to the original film, and that's really cool. And then that's pretty much it. So it's basically the same ride, just from up high, and it's in a train as opposed to in a boat. So if you're afraid of boats and you like trains, do that, or do them both, whatever. Any height, expected mothers okay. Wheelchairs will transfer just fine. Closing during fireworks and probably lots of rain. It'll probably close too.
Yeah, and it's about 3 minutes long, so it's about half the length of the boats.
And like everything, take pictures. There's some really cool picture opportunities that you can take on the train. If you're sitting in one of the sleigh types, right behind is probably one of the monkey cage cars, and you can lock your kids into that and take pictures of them looking through the bars. We've done it, and it's super fun, super cute. The trains are decorated really, really fun. So take that opportunity. Take those pictures. Your kids will love them. They're great memories. All right, so that is Fantasyland. We're done, and I'm excited about that. Now Fantasyland is never done, but as far as our walkthrough is done. Now, question of the day for you guys. We're going to require viewer response here, viewer participation. In the comments below, we want you to tell us what land to visit next as far as these videos are concerned. So what's left? We have Adventureland, Frontierland, excuse me, Star Wars Land, Galaxy's Edge, and New Orleans Square. And just FYI, just to be clear and transparent, we don't like Toontown all that much. Yeah. So we don't know about it. We haven't done it very much. Even when Wyatt was little, we didn't really do it. We've been there, we've done it, but
we're just not big fans.
Yeah, and that may change when they open the new ride, the Mickey and Minnie's Railway. That's coming in a couple of years.
What?
And they're going to put it at the back end of Toy Story Land or Toontown. So just FYI, that's going to be off the plate as far as your choices to vote for us. So Adventureland, Frontierland, Galaxy's Edge, and New Orleans Square. Put them in the comments below. Vote as much as you want. Get your friends to come vote. And then later this week, we'll probably put up on our social what we're going to do based on your guys' votes. So we're looking forward to that. Let's cut this video off. I hope you all are having a fantastic holiday season. We love this time of year. Lots of fun things happening. And we wish you all, the merriest of holiday seasons and Merry Christmas. And thank you so much for watching and bringing us into your lives for just a little bit. We appreciate that. And we hope that you feel our love for Disney and for you as we share these videos. And we'll see you guys next week with our next video.